Yeah.
Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Wisconsin looked like one of the most dangerous teams in the country until COVID ran rampant through Madison. The Badgers finished a disappointing 4-3, but still won their final two games, including a bowl victory over Wake Forest, to somewhat salvage 2020. Now the question is, can the Badgers return to form and not only win the Big Ten West, but maybe pose as a college football playoff dark horse? So again, guys, welcome back to the Gridiron Expert, ready to break down Wisconsin's schedule and predict their record for the 2021 college football season. As always, make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, and share our videos, and also make sure to check out everything down in the description below, including our brand new expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. We are not only offering up our college football spread picks, but we are also offering up our NFL spread picks. That's over 250 spread picks for an entire year. So do not miss out on those offers, again, down in the description below. So we take a look at Wisconsin, guys. Paul Chryst squad looks poised to return to the Wisconsin teams that we've been used to seeing for nearly a decade now. A physical team, both on the offensive side and the defensive side, dominating the line of scrimmage. And the one thing that Wisconsin has been missing for years now has been a quarterback that has been able to stretch the field. We know that for years Wisconsin has been a run-heavy team, and that's always going to be their first option. But they were missing a quarterback that could take them to that next level. And they finally have that guy. We take a look at their offense. 7 starters are back, and it starts with Graham Mertz. It starts with their quarterback in Graham Mertz. Threw for over 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns to 5 interceptions last year. The Badgers sputtered at times. Mertz sputtered at times as a young quarterback. They averaged just 25.1 points per game, their lowest output since 2004. And they had just 6 plays. Listen to this, 6 plays of 30 yards or more. The Badgers lacked the home run ball. They lacked that big playability. And that's something that we think they can get back in 2021. Jake Ferguson is back as one of the better tight ends in the country. He led the team with 4 touchdowns last year. Kendrick Pryor is back. Danny Davis III is back. So Graham Mertz is not going to be short of any passing options in 2021. And of course, we expect the running game to remain strong for Wisconsin as well. We just know that the difference maker could be what happens through the air. Take a look at their defense, always a strength for the Badgers. 8 starters are back on that side of the ball. This was a team that, despite going 4-3 last year, ranked top 10 in the nation in scoring, allowing just 17.4 points per game, in rushing, allowing just 96.1 rushing yards per game, and total defense, allowing 299.9 total yards per game. And yes, they lose a few key starters here and there, but Jack Sanborn and Leo Chenal are back at the linebacking core. They're leading the linebacking core. And this is not only going to be one of the better duos in the entire country, but again, it will be one of the better defenses in the entire country. Again, guys, we said at the beginning of this video that Wisconsin could be a playoff dark horse. And when you look at their schedule, you realize how favorable it really is. How extremely favorable the schedule is for Wisconsin. First off is look at who they play on the road. Illinois, Purdue, Rutgers, and Minnesota. Again, all teams that had a losing record in 2020. They get all of their big games at home. They avoid Ohio State out of the East. They avoid Indiana out of the East. It's lining up to be a very special season for Wisconsin if all the pieces are put together. And it certainly looks like they have that. They kick off the year against Penn State in Madison. Now, to me, this is a battle between two teams that are anxiously ready to, as one would say, get back. Wisconsin had a disappointing 2020. Penn State had a disappointing 2020, losing their first 5 games before finishing the year on a 4-game winning streak. So both teams carry a little bit of momentum in the 2021. But the one thing I'm looking at here is while Penn State returns plenty of talent, they have Sean Clifford back at quarterback, Noah Cain returns at running back after suffering a foot injury against Indiana last year, Jahan Dotson returns as their top wide receiver, and the defense returns 7. So James Franklin's squad will bounce back in a big way. The one thing I'm looking at here is Penn State's defense and the fact that they only have 1 starter back on that defensive line. While their defense was solid last year, the one starter back on the defensive line, and really the front seven as a whole being a concern for Penn State, to me doesn't bode well when they're going up against a Wisconsin offensive line that's going to be one of the better in the country per usual. I think Wisconsin dominates the line of scrimmage in this game. They dominate the time of possession in this game. It's the season opener at home, sold-out crowd at Camp Randall Stadium. I'm picking the Badgers. They upset, or shouldn't say upset, they take care of the Nittany Lions in Week 1. We think they take down Eastern Michigan with ease in Week 2, and they get that early bye week in Week 3. And obviously that's not ideal if you're Wisconsin. You don't want an early bye week. You don't want to have to play 2 games and then play 10 straight. Nothing you can do about that, though. It's fortunate, though, that unfortunate that it comes early, fortunate that the bye week comes right before one of their biggest games of the season. And that, of course, is the game in Chicago against Notre Dame. And the Fighting Irish were a team that made the college football playoff last year. We know that. But we know that pretty much all of the key starters, all of the major reasons that Notre Dame made the playoff are now gone. And that starts with their main quarterback in Ian Book. So this game in Chicago, guys, I believe will be a low-scoring defensive affair. And here's why. Wisconsin's offense should continue to improve. Graham Mertz should be able to take off a little bit. But again, this is only Week 4. Notre Dame's offense will certainly sputter at times as well, although this makes for an interesting matchup, as Notre Dame's starting quarterback most likely will be Jack Cohn, the former Wisconsin quarterback. So a bit of a reunion there. But we know for a fact that Wisconsin's strength this season is going to be their defense. We know Notre Dame's defense is going to be their strength this season, now that the Fighting Irish have hired Marcus Freeman as their brand new defensive coordinator. So you look at all those things combined, it's going to be a low-scoring defensive affair. I would be surprised if either team exceeded more than 28 points. I don't know if we're going to see 4 touchdowns in this game. But very similar to Penn State, Notre Dame loses a lot up front, not just on their offensive line, but on their defensive line as well. And I see this being another game where Wisconsin can bully them up front, dominate the line of scrimmage. And while Kyron Williams for Notre Dame will be the strength on offense as their running back, we know Wisconsin has one of the best rushing defenses in the country. Did last year and will again this year. I don't have faith in Jack Cohn winning this game through the air. I know you Wisconsin fans never really had faith in him winning games for you. Why would we expect anything different at Notre Dame? We're picking the Badgers to win in Chicago against the Fighting Irish in what could very well be a top 15 showdown. They beat Notre Dame. It's a huge resume-boosting victory. They're 3-0. They returned back to Madison to take on Michigan. And they beat Michigan 49-11 last year. And I'm here to say that this game against Michigan will not be as bad as it was last year. It's not going to be a 38-point victory for Wisconsin. But it's going to be another victory for Wisconsin. Again, both of these teams pose very strong defenses. Wisconsin returns 8 on that side of the ball. Michigan returns 9 on that side of the ball. So that's certainly going to be their strength. But as it always has been under Jim Harbaugh, Michigan's offense tends to sputter and struggle. They have quarterback questions right now, whether it's going to be Cade McNamara, J.J. McCarthy, perhaps Alan Bowman, or a mix of the 3. But outside of that, they're going to struggle offensively. They have to answer their quarterback questions. And by October 2nd, just 4 weeks into the season, I don't know if they're going to find that true, definite starter that's going to blow you out of the water. And whoever it is isn't going to come into Madison and blow this Wisconsin defense out of the water. Again, home field advantage, guys, we've said it over and over again, may play one of the bigger roles we've ever seen in college football history in 2021. And you're going to see that on full display on October 2nd in Madison. The Badgers beat the Wolverines. They then travel to Illinois. We don't have to talk much about that. Yes, Wisconsin lost the last time they visited Champaign. They were the 6th-ranked team in the country, lost on a game-winning field goal as time expired. But they beat Illinois 45-7 last year, an Illinois team that many thought would take a step forward, not contend for the West, but challenge for another bowl game. And they didn't. They disappointed so bad that Lovie Smith got the boot, and Brett Bielema is now in as their brand new head coach. While Illinois returns 15 starters, and while Bielema's rushing attack and the guys up front will do relatively well, don't expect much from the Fighting Illini this year, and don't expect another miraculous upset over the Badgers in 2021. Wisconsin beats Illinois with ease, just like they did last year. They then return home to take on Army, and I love this matchup. I love this matchup, and I've said it over and over again. I love it when we get to see military academies face off against Power 5 opponents, because it's very rare we get to see that. So your Armies, your Navies, your Air Force, when they face off against Power 5 teams, it's very special. Not just for the military academy, but for their opponent as well. So for Army to get to come to Camp Randall Stadium in the middle of October, which is even better, middle of the season non-conference game, makes this game so intriguing and makes it a potential upset game. Because I always think when you face off against a team that's out of conference right in the middle of the season, it messes with your groove. You're used to being in conference play. Every game matters. Of course, it does no matter who you're playing, but every conference game obviously takes more precedent in the out of conference. And now you kind of mix up your groove a little bit, and Wisconsin's going up against an Army team that, as we all know, runs that dangerous triple option. We know Wisconsin can stop the run, but can they stop the triple option? And can Wisconsin get anything going against Army here, guys? An Army team that returns 8 starters on defense. A team that went 9-3 last year. A team that ranked second in the country in scoring defense, in passing defense, and first in total defense. They were one of the best defenses in the country last year. And yes, say what you want. It's because of their weak strength of schedule. It's because they played teams that were similar to them in terms of offensive style. Jeff Monken is doing a phenomenal job in West Point. And this is an Army team that, once again, should go bowling, could win 8 to 9 games. One of those wins, though, will not come at Wisconsin. I believe that this is one of those games where you begin to see Graham Mertz do his job. Yes, Wisconsin or Army had one of the best passing defense in the country last year. They didn't face many pass-happy offenses. Not to say Wisconsin will be one, but that passing offense will be the difference maker because we know Army does not have that. Wisconsin's way too physical up front, and in a low-scoring game, they take down the Black Knights in one of my favorite matchups of 2021. Wisconsin gets back to the conference play. Get back to conference play after that little break against Army. Face off against Purdue. Who's going to be quarterback for the Boilermakers? Jack Plummer, Aiden O'Connell, whoever it is just going to give the ball to David Bell. That's all they got to do. The problem is, while that's usually a strength for Jeff Brom and the Boilermakers, the offensive side of the ball usually is, the defense is a concern right now in West Lafayette. And I don't think that defense is going to have what it takes to shut down Wisconsin. Wisconsin, who I think actually has a solid day on the ground in this game, maybe not so much as through the air. They beat Purdue. They then return home to take on Iowa. This is the game that could very well determine the West. So let's think about that for a second. Northwestern won the West last year. They beat Wisconsin, and they did beat Iowa. But Northwestern won the West because Wisconsin also kind of didn't get to play as many games and got derailed by COVID. Nothing to take away anything from the Wildcats. But this year, to me, it's a 2-team race. Wisconsin, Iowa. And this game right here could determine who wins the division and maybe has a date with Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship. Wisconsin lost to Iowa on the road last year 28-7. And again, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt and say that some of these poor performances we saw from Wisconsin were due to COVID. They were due to, obviously, inexperience at quarterback, Graham Mertz being young, but also being hit hard by COVID, not having as many players, having long breaks in between games, whatever it may be. This year they play Iowa. Everybody should be fully healthy, under normal circumstances, in Madison, with the division on the line. I don't see any way that Wisconsin loses this game. While I expect it to be closer than 28-7, why I expect the Hawkeyes to give Wisconsin everything they have, I don't see Wisconsin dropping this game at home. Not with the division on the line, possibly. Not with revenge on their mind after getting humiliated last year against their rival. And again, in a game with two very solid defenses, home field advantage, and obviously the wide receiver core for Wisconsin is going to play the difference maker in this one. And they beat the Hawkeyes and remain undefeated, guys, going into November. And the beauty of November, guys, is that while that's usually a month that's crazy for college football, it's going to work out great for Wisconsin. They open up November at Rutgers. A Rutgers team that's improving, but not quite there yet. Their offense is improving. Their deep, everything about this program is improving under Greg Schiano, but they're not to the point where they can hang with Wisconsin, let alone maybe score enough points on Wisconsin. So the Badgers win on the road in Piscataway. They return home to take on Northwestern. Talk about revenge. Graham Mertz had a horrible game against the Wildcats. What they had, like 5 turnovers in that game. Lost to the Wildcats 17-7. A game that ended up being crucial in terms of Northwestern winning the West. Revenge on their mind. At home, again, very similar to the Iowa game, Wisconsin beats the Wildcats. Another reason, too, is because Northwestern loses so much from that team that won the division last year. They stay at home. They take on Nebraska. A Nebraska team that should be good offensively because that's Scott Frost's ideal. That's his ideology, is he's an offensive-minded coach, but a Nebraska team that has yet to have an offense. Nebraska's strength offensively is running the football. You can't do that against Wisconsin. Wisconsin defeats the Cornhuskers at home in dominating fashion. They round out the year against Minnesota, obviously a rivalry game. Last year, Wisconsin beat the Golden Gophers 20-17 in overtime. And this is one of those games, guys, because if you've been following this, Wisconsin, we have them at 11-0 going into the road game at Minnesota. Now, I'm not saying Minnesota is going to be challenging for the West, but they are going to be back in the postseason this year under P.J. Flay. A team that returns 15 starters and would love nothing more than to spoil their rivals' undefeated season and potentially college football playoff hopes in the final week of the year. Couple years ago, we saw that. A couple years ago, we saw where Minnesota in 2019 won 11 games, and we thought, hey, they're hosting Wisconsin. The division could be on the line when these two meet off in the season finale. We're going to pick Minnesota with home field advantage, and Wisconsin walked into Minneapolis, and annihilated them. Beat them, 38-17? I'm not saying it's going to be another 21-point victory for the Badgers, but I am saying it will be a victory for the Badgers. This team, to me, is on a completely different level. A team that can dominate the line of scrimmage, a team that can dominate the time of possession, and a team that can wreak havoc in the backfield. Stop Muhammad Ibrahim, who was the best running back in the Big Ten last year, Big Ten running back of the year, and a team that can slow down Tanner Morgan, who's going to have to find himself a number one wide receiver outside of Chris Ottman-Bell after the loss of Rashad Bateman. So Wisconsin, we do believe, beats Minnesota in the season finale, and in doing so, finishes the year at 12-0. And if you followed us so far, that means we have, yes, Ohio State going 12-0 and Wisconsin going 12-0, which means the Big Ten championship will be a battle of unbeatens with a spot in the college football playoff on the line. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching us here at the Gridiron Expert. Make sure to continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Also, make sure to check out everything down in the description below. Those expert picks, I can promise you, you do not want to miss out on. We have 3 different packages over there on the gridironexpert.com. Go ahead, go sign up today. You do not want to miss out on it. And once again, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time right here on the Gridiron Expert.